It is a very nice bow tie, and we should all be glad that he dressed up for this important occasion. And the gentleman in question is here to talk about social magic, kind of like Woofy as far as I can tell. Please welcome Nate.
All right, thank you, everybody. Yo, so back in college, I studied sociology, and more specifically, I studied the concept of leadership. And one of the things that I thought was most curious was the concept of charisma. And you can define charisma as social magic, which works. So this is about social magic and how you can make social magic today. The first form of social magic I want to talk about is the way that the third who benefits, and you can't see because of the screen over here, but it says something in Latin, tertius gaudens. And what that means is just being the third who benefits, triangulation. How can you triangulate and get benefits? Great example, my friend Gary Vaynerchuk, everybody. Yeah, so Gary has this great wine video blog, and he has really blown up in the last year, but if you go back to his success, he always talked about liking to trade cards. He's been an arbiter. He's been the third who benefits. In this case, he's taking the old wine world and taking it to the masses, standing in between it, and he is benefiting. He has learned how to translate wine to the masses. Now, he also is translating media. He is even exploding even bigger because of what he's doing with media. And he's standing in between the old media and the new media, and he's reaping tremendous amount of benefits. Example of this, we see him on Conan O'Brien. You see him sniffing Conan O'Brien's armpit up there, and we're all like, all us new media people, we're like, oh my goodness, that's Gary Vee. He's on Conan O'Brien. That's incredible. But meanwhile, you have the old media, and the old media is saying, oh my goodness, this Gary Vaynerchuk, he has like 60,000 views on every video and bringing in the money, and they're like, oh my God, what is it? So by standing in the middle of these two groups, he's reaping tremendous amounts of rewards. The second way is by pleasurable cognitive dissonance. And pleasurable cognitive dissonance is when you are surprised, when you can surprise somebody and make them feel glad that you surprised them, make them feel very pleased. They think one thing and they find out another. Best example, Tay Zonde. You see this guy, he's so adorable. He looks like he's in his teens. He's really 25. You start the video and you see the white t-shirt and a weird kind of recording studio thing. And then you see the asterisks. I mean, it is so genuine. I move away from the mic to breathe in. I mean, you can't get more harmless than that. And then all of a sudden, he starts singing, and it hits you like 2 jars of honey. He is the most amazing voice in the world. You would never imagine that this guy, totally unassuming, would have such an amazing voice. And that is pleasurable cognitive dissonance, my friends. 20 million views later, he has a crown, he has a lion on his back, and 2 beautiful women standing next to him, singing Cherry Chocolate Rain for Dr. Pepper. That is a little bit of social magic. Next up is something called bricolage. I've talked about this, and one of the aspects of it is, it's like an art form. It's using unorthodox means to get great results. A bricoleur is somebody who practices this, and a bricoleur is still someone who works with his hands and uses devious means compared to that of a craftsman. What does that mean? Devious means, it means unorthodox ways of going about things. That is social magic. One example, teach people to make something from nothing. If you want a single-speed bicycle, maybe you should go out and buy one. No, maybe you should make one out of scraps. And then if you teach people that, that is social magic. You're teaching people. Next up, hackers. The good hackers, right, they use devious means to find and expose problems in an infrastructure, and just like Matthew Broderick there, can save the world by using devious means. The best example of all 3 of these things, you got it, the $1 Million homepage. They made people do something irrational that made sense. Look at that page. That is totally irrational, but it totally made sense. Why? Because they stood between the advertiser and the eyeball. That's the third who benefits. Why else? Because you're like, what the f, right? You're like, this really works. And lastly, they made something out of nothing. So be a bridge, pleasantly surprise people, make something out of nothing, and that is social magic. Thank you.